My name is George Nickson. I'm principal percussionist at the Dallas Symphony, co-artistic director of Ensemble New SRQ, and a faculty member at SMU. And I am thrilled to be talking with my very good friend, Jauvon, today, who is the principal timpanist of the National Symphony Orchestra. Jauvon, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about what you do.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jauvon. I play drums, and that's great. That's it. Drums
That's
is
it.
life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. So, Jauvon, you are the timpanist, principal timpanist of the National Symphony Orchestra, someone I have had the opportunity to play next to many times and
Good
in many
times.
different countries and
Good
in many
times.
different situations. Has always been amazing. One of the things I really admire about you and your playing is your commanding presence on stage. It feels like you are the boss. You are there. You're driving the bus, and I love that. Is that something that your place there at the NSO and your position on stage, is that something that you kind of always envisioned, like as you were going through school? And was that your desired kind of goal endpoint? Did you have that as your idea?
Not really. I mean, my background was piano, and so I was a piano major in undergrad. And so when I switched to drums and percussion, I didn't really know what I was doing. And so most people that know me know I was happily naive. And so I didn't know how hard it was to get a job. I didn't know much about the orchestra world at all. So once I decided that that's what I wanted to do, the closest sort of role model that I had was literally like Tim Adams, right? Tim Adams is a skinny black dude with suits and fancy cars and like dope brother, right? And so that was my vision of what a timpanist should be. And as you know, he looks like me, like he's black. So like when I got the job, and I'm a pretty extroverted person, like it just kind of fit that that was my personality. When I got the job in DC, I think it really was sort of a perfect storm in the fact that that orchestra's vibe fits my vibe, right? The way we collaborate, that kind of let me drive the bus, like you said. I'm not always right. Don't get me wrong. Like definitely have to collaborate with the other musicians, and you can't really just kind of stick it and expect them to go with you all the time. But I feel it out, and if I feel like there's something I need to do, most of the time the band lets me do it, and I really do appreciate that because like it gives you a sense of like that you're putting something into something that's bigger than yourself. And that really is important to me, that, we're all making music, and music makes the world go round. And without the arts, like we wouldn't have got through this last year, given what was going on. And I think that that's really important. So I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it. It's not something that I looked for when I was, when I was auditioning for that, if you will, but I definitely appreciate it now. And I enjoy it. As you can tell, when I'm on stage, I enjoy it.
Absolutely. So this conversation is about kind of careers in percussion and thinking outside the box. You are someone who has now developed quite the business in capital percussion and backline. I know a little bit about the field. I actually successfully sold last year, but I also had a percussion rental business in Florida called Florida Percussion Service. What about what we do is complementary towards going down that path? And what made you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's complementary, and the reason that I started CP, it was again kind of on a whim, naive, right? I thought that I would see the gear that would come into the Kennedy Center that would be rented, and I thought that I had in my own personal inventory. I was like, I have better gear that I'm not using, so why don't I try to make a few bucks and just kind of rent out? And this was concert percussion, mind you. And then later on, I realized that there was actually a bigger niche in backline. And for those of you, the PAS family that doesn't know what backline is the sort of popular section of rentals. So anytime a pop artist comes to town, Diana Ross, The Police, Sting, like Taylor Swift, Snarky Puppy, anybody like that, when they come with a band, they usually don't bring their own equipment. So drum sets, keyboards, guitars, amps, microphones, they don't usually bring that. The local scene will usually supply that. So there's a market for companies to actually provide this particular type of equipment, and it's called backline. And so once I realized that there was a niche in backline as well, I decided to expand again, naively, right? Getting a couple drum sets and kind of doing a keyboard or two doesn't work that way, right? You have to have all of the equipment, every Yamaha keyboard, every Ampeg bass amp, every Fender guitar amp, every Gibson type of guitar. It got really big really quick. And I think the only way for me to sort of succeed is just kind of go all in. So that's what I did. I just kind of jumped all in and just kind of made sure that we had everything so that when people call, you never have to say no. And that kind of what's helped. And then on top of that, knowing the ins and outs of the percussion, you ask what makes it complementary. The biggest issue with backline rentals is the drums. If you don't have crew and people that know that you need a hi-hat clutch and that you need two cymbal felts for every stand, and that if they ask for a double bass drum pedal, what that is, that's a lot different than just pulling an amp, right? Yes, the amps have to work and the tubes have to work, but the drums, there's so many different parts to each piece that one piece won't work. You'd be surprised how many drummer set players will be mad if you don't have the screw that goes into the throne, the spinning top throne. Like, if you don't have the screw to tighten it, they'll send it back, right? Whereas if they're using a guitar or guitar amp, like there's always backups, there's always ways you can sort of work around that. With keyboards, there's 100 patches, you could just go to another patch. But the drum set, if they don't have everything they need, they're going to give you a call. And if it's at 10 p.m. at night and you're with your family, you got to get out and go fix it. And so having drum knowledge of the actual drums was actually been very helpful for me and my guys, because that's where all of the problems begin and end. I've found with most of the backline stuff. So it's been pretty fun in that regards. I like it a lot.
So you're saying the drummer of the band is always the diva, is always the one who's the biggest pain to work with.
We're pretty cool, but then if it doesn't work right, we're gonna let you know. It's like a blessing and a curse. Right? You understand?
Absolutely. Oh, I don't know anything about that. I've never been that way. No, of course not. So, you are the principal timpanist of the National Symphony, and you are a rather serious business owner with Capital Percussion. I mean, do you see symmetry in the drive and ambition it took for you to succeed to your point on the stage and also to this point in business? Or do you see them as kind of separate paths requiring separate nuance?
I think in life, like your personality, the person that you are, everything that you do sort of takes on that personality, right? So even though I didn't know about the concert world growing up, my dad used music and sports to keep me off the streets and away from the guns, right, and the drugs. So like he gave me this work ethic. I was always in the gym. I was always in the practice room. I was always behind the piano. He always kept me busy so to keep me safe. And so that work ethic that he instilled in me absolutely translates to everything, right? That's how we can sit in a room and practice for 6, 7, 8 hours a day. Like we all have done it, right? And that's how that's how you get good, better, better, best, bet, and so that's the way it works. Well, same thing with business. It's about customer service. It's about making sure you pay attention to details. And it's about making sure that like what you do put out is a product that you would be proud of. And so it's the same sort of thing. Like I make sure I work hard, I pay attention to details, make sure my drums are in tune, and the product that I put out, I try to make sure it's the best thing on stage. It's the same thing. And so for me, I just try to copy paste what I did. That again, very luckily, very fortunate. I say this all the time. Like I might be the timpanist in the NSO, but there's a million other people that day that could have done the job just as well. I just had a really great day, August 5th, 2009, right? It has nothing to do with the fact that, there weren't any better players out there. And so, like, for me, it's just making sure that the standards are high and the people that I hire fit the culture. I think that's the other thing. Like, my full time employees are, like I said, are the two main ones are both percussionists, former percussionists, and they fit the culture. They both believe in CP and what we're doing and sort of the ancillary businesses that spin off of CP. They're all into it. And that's what creates, I think, a product that people will continue to call us back.
That's fantastic. Did you along the way have to acquire any like new skills to do this? I mean, you had to do probably a ton of research and figure
I
out
didn't know what a
how
pickup
this
was.
works.
I didn't know what a pickup was until I got this gig. I thought a pickup was something like, like a basketball game or whatever, but like guitar in lingo and sound and speaker lingo, like that stuff was way outside of my purview for sure. And I learned on the fly. We just got an order 20 minutes ago for a set of turntables, right? And so we own, I think, 10 turntables, so 5 sets of Technics turntables. And we have to make sure we know how to maintenance them and fix them, right? So again, I didn't know what any of that stuff was, any of the levelers and the arms and the weights and all this stuff. Like this stuff was foreign to me, right? It's all about G's and C's, right? And like half heads and like going on tour and hanging out with George. That was my whole life, right? And then, these things changed. So I definitely had to learn for sure. Choir risers, how do you set those up? There's standing and sitting choir risers. I didn't know that. And then don't get me started on the vehicles that we own, right? Maintenance in the trucks to make sure. So there's a lot of stuff that you learn on the way along the way, but like I wouldn't have it any other way. I really do enjoy it. Maybe not as much as my main gig, but it's getting there because I really do. I really do enjoy it.
I mean, that's fantastic. I think that's something that I certainly enjoy about the other projects that I always have going on is that, a lot of our colleagues on stage and a lot of colleagues anywhere, and people who are teaching high school or teaching college. I mean, when you're doing the same thing and you start to get in your career of 15, 20 years and you start to think about this and you're looking at Mahler 5 differently, you're like, wow,
Right.
okay, Mahler 5, it used to be like, okay, this is the coolest thing that because I've never done it. And then when you've done it 40 times, you start looking at it differently. But what I've found is that these other projects that are musically related and that really involve it actually deepen our commitment and our love for what we do. And that's one of the things I've really enjoyed with my projects also along the way. Last question: do you have any particularly like funny or challenging situations that have arisen with Capital Percussion that would be good stories for someone out there?
Yeah, so Hammond B3 organs are heavy, right? So I think everybody knows that B3s are heavy, and we own a couple of them. And so I think we've had a few days where all of our organs needed to be out at the same time, right? So everything we own, we have backups of. So we have at least two of everything, right? Because, things break, and if they break in the moment, you got to replace them. And so this one day, we had all of our B3s out at separate locations. And of course, that's the one day that somebody calls and says they need something from the B3 that's in use. I was across town. I think one was in DC and the other one might have been in like Arlington, Virginia. So it's like maybe 15, 20 minutes away. Right. And so this was back when my staff was a lot less. We were running on a little bit more of a shoestring budget. And so I had a concert coming up. Like I think it might have been around 5:30, right? Concerts are at 8. So I called my GM at the time and I was like, bruh, I know you're on site at this one place and I know that that B3 is in use, but as soon as it's done, you need to pay whoever you can that is within 20 feet of you, however much it takes for them to help you get this thing off the stage, right? I need you to hightail it over to this other place, and we need it by like I think it was by like a 7:30 hit. And so his name was Raphael. I think he ended up paying like a hot dog vendor and like a meter maid to help him get this thing off the stage to get it where it needed to go. But he got it done. And it's those types of things that when the client calls, like you have to be on top of it, right? As orchestra musicians, we don't really have that sort of customer service. It's not really in our wheelhouse. It's not really what we do. Yes, we answer the conductor, but it's more collaborative. Not here. They want this to work. We have a problem. You need to fix it. They don't care that I'm the timpanist in NSL. They don't care that I teach at UMD. They don't care that Jauvon is Jauvon. All they care about is that this B3 is sounding funky and we need it fixed. And so dealing with people on that level has been interesting. I've definitely had to learn how to communicate and work with people when the mantra, which is the customer is always right, is true, you know, because you want to make them happy so that they call you back. And so I remember that one fondly because, he had to pay people that probably I'll never see again to make it happen, but he did. He did.
That's a great story. I actually do see a little bit parallel in there in the not like not directly, but how what you're talking about with customer service and how it deals with sometimes our job on the stage.
Sure.
Especially big deal conductor or music director is there for you. It's funny. Our music directors are actually very good friends, Gian Andrea
Hmm.
Gazzetta and Fabio Luisi, good
Hmm.
Italian friends. And if they're there, it's a little bit of, and they want something different. It's our job to be like, we're going to get it done. And it's sometimes not necessarily, oh well, Maestro, I have these limitations and I can't do this. Often, sometimes you just got to go, hey, we're going to make this happen for you. Absolutely.
Right.
Or if they want a
Right.
different sound, that it's much easier to say to them like, you got it, and we're going to figure that out. It may
Right.
not be until the next rehearsal when we may need to try a different instrument, but we will get this done. And for that goes a long way on the
It
stage
does.
also.
Yes, just saying yes with a poker face goes a long way
Yes,
because
you got it. Yeah, absolutely, we can do that.
yeah.
Any final words of wisdom out there for people who are looking at just broadening their careers in general?
I think I mean you know this pretty well, George. Like I mean, doing anything at a high level just takes a grind. It takes hustle, man. You got to get in there and you got to do the work, right? It takes man hours. It takes dedication. It takes this work ethic that you have to do. It takes sort of doing things that are sort of people think that are outrageous, like me driving my drums across the country before my auditions. Like the people, I thought that was outrageous. It's not. Like people, we all have those stories. We've all done these things that we thought were completely cockamamie, but they got this the gig, so they clearly weren't. And so I think the best advice I can give is for people is to just like, A, do what you love. be a good person. Like that's the most important thing is to be a good human being, right? And then when it comes to drums, just like find someone like George that you can be a sponge to, that you can sort of absorb, and just like like ask them every single question you can, and like try to be a sponge and learn from the people that you want to be like. That's what I did with Tim, and it was great that he took me in that way. And so like I think that's the best advice I can do. And with regards to extracurricular stuff, like go for it. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't work, but you still find a new skill, you still find something new, and you never know what might happen. I never knew that I love having a backline company until I did it. And now I really do. I enjoy it, and we've got some exciting things on the horizon that I'm looking forward to. And like, it's great. Keeps me going.
Well, that's fantastic. Great advice. And that's to piggyback on that. One of the questions that people ask me most frequently, whether it's starting that company, a rental company, or starting a nonprofit performance ensemble that I have, they ask me, "How did you know what to do? How did you do that?" And I go, "I didn't. Like I
I
had no
know
idea."
exactly. Exactly.
It's what I call like confident ignorance. You walk into it and you go like, "I have no idea, but I'm here to learn everything."
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing that it requires, I think.
Yeah. What'd you say? You got it. That's exactly what you. That's how you
That's
say
right.
it to the conductors. Yeah, you got it.
You got it.
That's right. That's great advice, dude. That's exactly what it is. You just do it and you figure it out. I call it ready, fire, aim instead of ready, aim, fire. Well, that's me. Ready, fire, aim, and then you figure it out. That's it.
Oh, that's great. Javon, this has been a real pleasure. Thanks for joining me for this.
Brother,
And
this is great, man. Anytime.
yeah, have a great summer.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.